When I first heard about ETFs, I was very excited because I always thought that investing was only for the rich. I thought that it was very complicated. I thought that I would never be able to learn how to invest in stocks and make money in the stock market. And now a 2020 report showed that over 15 years or a 15-year period, nearly 90% of actively managed investment funds fail to beat the market. And this simply means that portfolio managers with Ivy League education who spent their entire days attempting to outperform the stock market, 90% of the time, they weren't able to do it and they couldn't beat the investors that were using the index fund or the ETF investment strategy. And that is why in this video, I'm going to be talking about the best 2.1 ETFs that you can use to get rich. And this is super exciting, or a very exciting topic, because with ETF investing, you can literally start with little to no experience and make money in the stock market. And with that said, let's dive right into it. Now, if this is the first time that you're actually seeing me or coming across this channel, my name is Eann, and on this channel, I talk about ways to make money, ways to save money, ways to invest your money. I talk about bank accounts, credit cards, side hustles, how to start a business, and just about everything to do with personal finance. So if you like these videos and you like these types of topics, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I'll really appreciate it. It's 100% free, won't cost you anything. Also, be sure to subscribe with the notifications on, and that way you'll never miss any of the future updates of when I post new videos on this channel. Also, if you guys ever want to talk to me one-on-one, you can find me on Instagram. The link is down below in the description. And with that said, let's jump right into the best 2.1 ETFs that you should be using right now. Now, actually, before we get there, the main reason I'm making this video today is because I realize that more and more people are less interested in ETFs and the stock market, and more people are more interested in finding the next best stock that is going to skyrocket, the next best meme stock, possibly the next best crypto that's going to go to the moon and go up by 100,000% in just a few days. And while that stuff is all fun and exciting and I absolutely love it, I mean, I like when I can invest $1,000 in a Shiba Inu and in a month I have $50,000. But the thing is, with those types of investments, they're really risky, and just as how they can go up really quickly in value and you can get insane returns, they can also dumpster dive as quickly as well. And this is why if you don't get in at the right time, you'll more than likely buy high, it will crash, you'll lose all your money, and then you're left holding the bag waiting and hoping that they'll recover. And unfortunately, my friend, that sometimes never happens. Now, in addition to this, many people will jump into stock picking or risky crypto investments, and they'll invest way more than they can actually afford to lose, or way more than they can actually afford to invest right now. And then when they lose all that money, it's just devastating for their finances. So this is why no matter what I'm doing, I mean, whether I'm investing in a crypto that I think is going to skyrocket or I'm playing around with individual stocks, I've always been consistently investing into index funds or ETFs, because that way I'm investing for the long term and I have slower gains which are more stable and a lot less volatile. Now, an index fund is like a basket, and inside this basket you have many different stocks. So you'll have like your Tesla, your Facebook, your Google, you have your Amazon, you have your Walmart, your PayPal, and you have all these other stocks that you hear about that you like. And right now, if you wanted to invest in only Amazon or Walmart or Tesla, then you can invest in just those stocks, and that would be called individual stock investing. Now, the problem with this, and there's a problem here, the problem with this is that if any one of those companies goes bankrupt or the stock crashes in value, then you're going to lose most of your money. With an ETF or the index fund, it's not that easy, because usually these ETFs or index funds will have hundreds of these stocks. So if you're like in an ETF like the S&P 500, for example, it has around 505 stocks. And so if one of these stocks crashes or goes down in value significantly, really quickly, then you still have 504 more stocks inside that ETF. And that way you're not at much risk if just one or two, probably even 5 or 10 go down in value at the same time. So just as how John C. Bogle says in the little book of Common Sense Investing, instead of going out there and trying to find the needle in the haystack and finding all the stocks that you like, just get the entire haystack. So it's less work for you, it's less expensive because you won't have to actively manage it or pay some fund managers to manage it, and you'll also always be getting the average market returns. So ETFs and index funds are more for building a long-term wealth. They're very cost effective. You can actually own a lot of stocks at the same time without actually going out there and buying those stocks individually. Again, ETFs or index funds won't give you these crazy returns that you can get from individual stocks or crypto or meme stocks, but just as how these other investments can skyrocket in hours or days, they can also crash in hours or days. So if you want a more stable way to invest with a long-term outlook, then index funds and ETFs are going to be your best friend. So let's now talk about the best 2.1 index funds that you can actually use to actually get rich. And the first one is going to be the most popular, and that is the S&P 500 index fund. Now, throughout this video, you may hear me say index fund, and sometimes I may say ETF. And simply put, the main difference here is that an index fund can only be traded once per day, and you always have to purchase the index fund at whatever it's valued at. Now with the ETF, you can trade it like stocks. So once the stock market is open, you can buy and sell as many times as you want per day. And you can also do fractional share investing with ETFs. So if an ETF is valued at $500 and you only have $100 to invest, you can invest in that ETF that mirrors whatever index fund you want. So the first one here is the S&P 500 index fund, and this one has the top 500 or 505 performing US companies at any given time. Now on average, this ETF returns around 8 to 10% per year. And this isn't any crazy, ridiculously high returns that you'd get from like a crypto, for example. But this index fund has been more consistent with its returns if you were to compare it with other types of investments. Now, for a company to be included in the S&P 500, they need to have a specific market cap. They also need to be publicly traded. And of course, they need to have the majority of their shares in the public's hands. And they also need to be publicly traded for at least 1 year prior to being added. Now, by buying one share of the S&P 500, you'll be investing in companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, PayPal, and the list goes on to 505. Now, if you're looking to invest in this ETF or index fund, the best one out there, in my opinion, is the Vanguard 500 Index Fund ETF, ticker symbol VOO. That isn't the only ETF you can get. You can get other ETF that track the S&P 500 index from many different companies, but two important things that you should look out for when choosing an ETF is the expense ratio and also if dividends can be reinvested. Now, if you're interested in ETF investing, then check the link down below in the description to M1 Finance. You can get $50 for free for any investment you want, which could be an ETF once you deposit $100 after opening your account. Now, there you can invest in ETFs, and these are some of the ETFs that I'll be talking about in this video, and it's free for you to use as well. Now, with that said, the second index fund or second ETF that you should be looking at is a total international stock index fund. Now, this one is important because from time to time, some of the best performing stocks and companies may not necessarily be from the United States. You have many companies based out of Europe or China doing really well, making a lot of money. But if you're not invested in the international stock market, then you will be missing out on those huge gains. So international stocks or an international stock market ETF would be like a basket of stocks from all over the world. And usually international stock market index funds have thousands of stocks in them. So for example, one good one that I use to invest in is the Vanguard Total International Stock ETF, ticker symbol VXUS. And this particular one has North American stocks, some from the Middle East, some from Europe, emerging markets, and they have a total of 7,881 stocks inside this ETF. So with this ETF, you're investing into the stock market around the world in general, and this way you never miss out on any gains in stock markets outside of the US. Now, this is like the ultimate diversification if you're into investing, and there's no easier or simpler way to invest into the entire stock market, both in the US and overseas, at such a low cost than by using a ETF or an index fund. Again, the returns may be a bit lower than what you're actually going to get if you go out there and pick stocks or do other risky investments, but these are much more consistent returns. So if you want consistency and you want to invest for the long term, you should definitely be looking at these ETFs. Now, earlier on in this video, I mentioned 2.1 best ETFs, and I just gave you guys two. So point one is for this other ETF that I think is good. You don't have to include this in your portfolio, but it could be a good addition, and this is going to be a small cap ETF. And small cap ETFs are ETFs that have smaller companies, And with smaller companies, they usually have a huge potential to go by a lot very quickly. Now, at the same time, they have a lot of risk. They could be going bankrupt or failing. But again, because this is not stock picking and it's an ETF or index fund that you're investing in, you'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of these smaller companies inside this ETF, and that way you're not taking all the risk or that much risk, because if 10 of them fail, then you won't necessarily go bankrupt because you still have thousands more investing in, and this way you don't really miss out on any new companies that come on the market and do really well. Now, an example of one of these ETFs would be the Vanguard Small Cap ETF, ticker symbol VB, and that is a bonus that you could also consider including in your investment portfolio as well. Now, because index funds or ETFs are so simple and easy, the most important thing for you to do here is to get started. Comment below and let me know if ETFs or index funds are a part of your investment strategy, and also if you're investing into any of the ETFs that I mentioned in this video. And with that said, all the best with making money. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. If you guys want to talk to me one-on-one, you can message me on Instagram. The link is down below in the description. And with that said, I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.